I'm having the most exciting time. I mean, who'd have thought at my grand old age that I'd just be so busy and have so many exciting projects on the go. The most exciting thing is a new production of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Carousel, in which I play Nettie Fowler. And it's, for me, the perfect counterbalance to The Sound of Music, which was my first ever musical. This is my second ever musical, because they're both very spiritual themes. They often say that Carousel is the kind of musical's musical, because the quality of the writing is so good, and the subject matter, it's very profound but incredibly funny at the same time. So it has great depth and great scope, and I'm very excited about performing in Carousel. It's the perfect role for me. I'm finding now that I've got all these new opportunities in musicals, having done opera all my life. There's these wonderful characters for women like me, mature, fabulous women like me, to have a go at, and I'm just revelling in it. I've made an album called Amazing Grace, which was kind of a complete coincidence because it was being planned before any of this, which is all very, very lovely. Can you imagine romantic religious music? It's sort of romantic spiritual music. You know, there's Verdi on there and lots of lovely Mozart and Jeffrey Bergen as well, because I just love his writing, and some Carl Jenkins as well, who's just, heaven on a stick. And all of that has kind of gone into this amazing kind of spiritual, if you like, it makes me sound very Californian, this, doesn't it? But it's this lovely melting pot of fabulous music that I've got the chance to do. And added to that, I'm also doing a TV series in December for the BBC called Christmas Voices, which is going to be a lovely mixture of music and Christmas topics. And I'm going to be hosting that and singing as well. And so it's this just great time of my life. I can't believe it. Well, not a lot of people know this, but when I was a student at the Royal Academy of Music in the 70s, the way I paid my way was by posing for artists and sculptors. I did it for years, got my kit off. I was done in terracotta, soapstone, you name it. And this lovely bronze figure was me when I was 21. And it was made by one of the students at the Hampstead Garden Suburbs Institute. And my husband tracked it down and had a copy made for me for my birthday a few years ago. And she stands in my window and reminds me of how hard I had to work to get to where I am today. We've just had our first run through of Carousel. It's the best bit when we all get together and sit around the piano. It reminds me of being at home, and it's just like a big sing-song, and we're all a bit embarrassed, because we're just still learning it and we're not sure of each other, and we just all got together, and as soon as we kicked off with June is busting out all over, I was home and dry. And it was great. And the thing that was most exciting is that there was the most fantastic chemistry between all of us. That was the great surprise. We'd never met before, and Alexander Silber, who's playing Julie Jordan, Alexandra Silber, and Jeremiah James, who's playing Billy Bigelow. They just had the most fabulous voices, because I wasn't sure what to expect. I'm new to this musicals game, and I'm obviously an opera singer, and then they're music theatre people, and I was just thinking, how are we going to make this work? Absolutely no worries at all. We just meet in the middle, and they have the most wonderful, powerful, expressive, fabulous voices. Now, costume and frocks have always meant an enormous amount to me. They're at least half the performance, to be honest, and I just wanted to share with you a few of my more special ones. Now, this lovely sequence of drawings here are some of the costumes that I wore for Strictly Come Dancing. And of all the costumes that I wore and all the wonderful dances I performed, this one was my favourite. This is the costume that I wore to perform with Anton, the quick step, and it was the dance that I found hardest. And I loved this costume so much that I just had to have it. I'll tell you, they weren't giving them away, and this is it. This is the fabulous quick step costume that I think we won that dance when I was wearing this costume, and that was just one of the most exciting experiences of my whole life. music theatre, it's an extraordinary world and one that I was longing to inhabit. The relationships that you make with the people you work with are so special. I learnt that through Sound of Music. I mean, that was a group of people, as I know Carousel is going to be, that were just so inspiring and talented and hardworking in a way that I had to grow to match them, to be honest. And the idea of performing every day, 8 shows a week, twice a day sometimes, that's so new for me as an opera singer. I mean, 2 shows a week's a busy week for an opera singer, quite honestly, and we rest a lot. But music theatre people don't. Music theatre people just keep going. And if you get tired, then you use that tiredness in your performance. And it comes from a very, very special, deep, personal place. All the characters that we are being required to play there's a personal element to these people, and then we have to find, and I'm just loving that. This is the Jean-Paul Gaultier inspired corset that I wore in a very exciting production of Die Fledermaus at English National Opera, and it's what we call the Madonna basque. If I stick my fingers in here, you'll see why. Because Madonna was famously wearing this all over the place, so I thought, well, whatever Madonna can do, I can do. So I wore this on stage at English National Opera, and as if that wasn't enough, in a very famous striptease moment, I took it off. I don't do that these days. Ian McKellen asked me to sing in the Albert Hall for Stonewall, the gay and lesbian charity, which I was very, very happy to do. And I was wondering what to do, and I asked him who else was on the bill, and he said Lily Savage, Paul O'Grady, who I've always just adored, haven't we all? So I said, do you think he'd do a duet with me? Because I kind of made a bit of a thing of this in my career, asking unexpected people if they'll sing with me, twisting their arms into doing it. And he still, I'm sure he would, he's up for anything. So I said, do you think he'd sing Rossini's Cat Duet with me? It's basically 2 cats on a fence having a cat fight. Meow, meow. I just could see him doing it somehow. And he said, well, we'll ask him. So he was completely up for it. We rehearsed it for about 15 minutes backstage before we went on to do it. I was completely and utterly the Ernie Wise to his Eric Morecambe. I just followed his lead, because his comic timing is just perfect. We had fabulous evening dresses, enormous hair, mine was at least as big as his, huge feather boas that we used as cats' tails. And it was just one of those things that went brilliantly. This is very saucy. This is my sauciest moment, and nobody has ever seen these. This, and I did this for a dare, was what I wore underneath my habit when I was performing in The Sound of Music. And it's agent provocateur, and not a lot of nuns wear these. This photo is a very special and very personal picture. It was taken by a man called John Batten, a fabulous photographer, who actually introduced my husband and I. We were a blind date and he got us together, so it's doubly special. But the subject of this photograph is my son, Jeremy, there. He's just 6 weeks old. And this photograph was taken as part of a series based on the famous speech, The 7 Ages of Man. And this was the child mewling and puking in his mother's arms. And if you look carefully at the back, there's a skull there. And that's the end of the speech, when the character is sans teeth, sans everything. And what I love about it is that my gorgeous, gorgeous son, who I'd just given birth to, is in the foreground, in the follow spot. And I'm, for once, in the dark, in the shadow around here. And that sense of protection of a precious thing is something that matters enormously to me. It expresses not just how I feel about my children, although that's the most powerful expression of this feeling of protection, but I think I feel like that about music and about singing and about art, really. So this picture says a lot to me. What I think life's about is inspiration. What I think we all need in whatever walk of life we choose is to feel inspired by what we do. It's hard in some walks of life. You know, I grew up in the mining community. It's hard to be an inspiring miner. But when those miners come out of the pit and pick up their brass instruments, and when they play Dvorak, when they play Going Home, when I sing with them, that's magic. That's indescribable magic.